Hey guys, it's Steve here from CG Geek with a new Blender tutorial on how to smash a brick wall. So we're going to be doing some cell fracturing and destroying of a brick wall with some simulations, physics, and rigid bodies. So it should be a lot of fun, it shouldn't be too hard, it should be pretty easy, and hopefully you'll learn a few tips along the way. So let's jump right into it. And this time, I'm going to use my default cube. What? That, I mean, that never happens. Alright, so go ahead and scale it down to about 0.2. So I'm just going to S 0.2. And then scale on the X. So SX2. So we have a rectangular brick. This will be our foundation to our brick wall. So what I'm going to do is just use an array modifier real quick here. Just go add modifier, array. And I'm going to change it from a 1 offset to a 105 offset. So you see that puts a little gap there, and that's needed for the rigid body simulation. Okay, so I want like, 15 of these now or something. I'm just going to go 15. That looks like a pretty good amount. And I'm going to apply that modifier. Boom. Now I'm going to tab into edit mode with everything selected. Go Shift D, and then grab it along the Z axis. And then I'll hold control down to kind of snap it up and over. But, okay, I can't go over. Obviously, I'm holding Z down. So snap it up, and now I'm going to go grab along the X and hold control to snap it dead center right there. And now I want to pull it up a little bit further to give it that same gap I did on bottom there. Not quite so much. There we go. Something like that will work fine. Now I can go ahead and add one more array modifier to the stack here. And we don't want it this time to be along the x-axis here, I believe. Yep. We want it to be along the z. So I'm going to take this number down to 0, and I'm going to take this number to 0.005, like we used to have on the x there. And it'll go upwards with it. So now I can just increase this count until we have a tall enough brick wall. I think 7 is fine for what I'm doing. That looks pretty decent. And now I need to apply that modifier as well. Okay, so now it will be a lot easier to texture our brick wall if we do it at this step before self-fracturing it. Basically, there's a little issue right now with the self-fracture add-on to apply textures to it. It doesn't keep whatever texture you put on the bricks beforehand after you fracture it. So I'll show you how to get around that. First off, let's switch to cycles render because I just like using cycles now. And let's split our window here. I bring up the UV image editor. Here I'm going to open up our brick texture. This is just a brick texture off CG Textures. Link in the description. This one works nice because it's the same pattern of bricks like mine is, so I can texture it across these bricks with a little scaling to match right on up with my my model here. So it works good. So I'm going to tab in edit mode, select all, and go U. Whoops, that was Y. U project from view right there. And you see the bricks come up over here. Now this is the tricky part. We want to kind of scale these bricks to fit the bricks of the texture here. And it can just take a little bit of fiddling to get them to match. It looks like I mainly need to scale them along the x-axis here. So scale them along the x, and you just want to match up all the gaps in your bricks, basically to the bricks on the texture. So it takes a little bit of tweaking, a little bit of patience to get her lined up pretty close. And it doesn't have to be exact, but the better you get it, the better, obviously, it will work. And what kind of tends to happen is once you get one side lined up pretty decent, and you're pretty happy with that, you move to the next side and you see it's messed up. So you kind of have to keep moving back and forth and scaling and adjusting until you get it right on. So I'm just going to kind of grab it along the x-axis here. Whoops, keep it all selected, and then scale along the x-axis. Just a bit there. And you can see it's lining up pretty close now. Let's go to the other side and see how badly she's messed up. Let's go over here. It looks like it's actually lining up pretty decent now. Maybe just a little bit of tweaking here. Pull it that way along the X. Maybe scale along the X a tad. Okay, that's lining up pretty close. And the X and the Y axis here looks pretty decent. That looks about on. Okay, pretty close, pretty close. I think that will work. That's close enough. Close enough for me. So just a little fiddling and tweaking to get it to line up there. It doesn't matter if it goes off the edge there because it's a titled image. And I'll just take it from this side, I believe. I think it's tiled. Yeah, it should be. It should work fine. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is, now that we got that lined up and we have a image, a UV map applied to this model, I can start to self-fracture it. But wait. Before we do that, I want to texture it, and now that I got UV unwrapped, I can show you how I'm going to texture it. So like I said, the texture will not carry over. You can't see anything there yet. I have to pop it in here. So let me quick do that so you can see it in real time. I'm just going to go use nodes on the material. Let's split our window a last time here and open our node editor. Here I'm just going to drop in an image texture. So Shift A, texture, image texture. Grab that texture we had opened there with the bricks and connect her up. So now I can see her. If I go to textured view, I can see my texture across my bricks here. And it doesn't look bad. But like I said, if you self-fracture it, the UV coordinates get all messed up on the bricks and it just doesn't work. So what I'm going to do to keep those UV coordinates perfect is the UV projection modifier. Now, I actually can go ahead and self-fracture this before using the UV project because that's how cool it is. So I guess I can go ahead and fracture this, and then I'll come back and UV unmap it with the projection modifier. So let's start creating our scene now. We have our bricks here. Let's lift them up a little bit so they're resting kind of on that red line there. And now I'm going to add in a basic plane. We'll scale it up real big, something like 10. So we have a basic plane there, and now let's move our bricks just over onto that plane there, so it's all nice and lined up. And yeah, let's enable our self-fracture add-on. So this is just going to be user preferences and add-ons. This is an add-on that needs to be enabled if you want to use it. And just start typing in cell, and you'll see you have self-fracture. Check the box, and now it's enabled. And you can find this option when you hit T. It's right here in your toolbar under tools. So cool. And I think we can go ahead and do that in a second here. First off, the self-fracture add-on has a number of ways of calculating how to fracture your mesh, basically. And let me close off this window here. It might be lagging a little bit because that's a big texture. Whoops, I split the window twice there. Close that off. Yeah, you right there, close off, and then close you off right there. So yeah, basically there's a few ways to tell the self-fracture how to fracture it. And one of them is the grease pencil. And that's what I'm going to do for this tutorial. I'm going to show you how to use the grease pencil to show how I want this fractured. So to use the grease pencil, if you've never done it before, it's basically you hold the D key and you draw. So it's pretty simple and really simple. Really fun too. It is fun. Sometimes you get bored and you just start, drawing smiley faces all over your scene. So Command Z still deletes it just like anything else. So go ahead and do that. But yeah, basically what we're going to be doing is telling Blender where we want this fractured. Now, it does work off the 3D cursor. You see if I move my cursor here and start drawing, it's lined up to the 3D cursor there. So just to keep everything clean, I like to go Shift S, cursor to selected, and then draw so it's on the mesh there. Alright, so what I'm going to kind of do is kind of draw a spider web here. And the self-fracture will basically take all the different points you put on it and the different places where the lines overlap and whatnot, and it'll fracture it. I'm not exactly sure how it all uses the lines, but it works. It works pretty decent, and I'll just go ahead and do that. So I'm going to hold down D. You can see it's climbing the number. I'm pushing it there, but I'm just holding it down. I'm going to start by drawing a smaller circle, a bigger circle, and I think I'll go 3 circles around it. Not very even, doesn't matter. It's a fracture anyways. And now I'm just kind of making a spider web out of it by taking lines from the middle and pulling it outwards. So there, something like that. And now I'm going to put some dots in and around there as well, just to give it more fracture points. Something like that. And we should be good to go. So you can see it's lined up on there where the 3D cursor is, and we should be ready to fracture. So let me use the self-fracture add-on now. I'm just going to click self-fracture. You see you get these settings right here. Now we want to use the grease pencil, so we're going to choose the point source as the grease pencil right there. The source limit is basically the number of times, or the number of fractures, I guess, the number of pieces it puts into the scene, and this will depend on how long you want to wait and how good your computer is. I'm going to go 600, You could go more or less depending on your computer or whatnot, but 600 seemed like a pretty good middle ground for me. Noise, I like to put that at 1, so we get a lot of noise, and it's not nothing even, everything is random. And then the random down here as well, I like to put that to about a 0.5 to give us some random. The recursion, break shards recursively, I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure on how this works, but I give that a little number too, and I got some cool results. So there you go. Now I'm going to choose material 2 here, or actually material 1 is material 2. It's a little weird how it says that, but whatever. Material 1 will mean that a second material is what it's going to use for the inside faces. So this is for putting a different texture on the inside faces of our mesh. And that will be all the settings we need to set. But before I go OK, I want to quick add that second material, otherwise it won't work. So just add a second material, and let's go ahead and name these nice and organized. We'll go inside and outside. Very organized. Not really, but it works. So now we can go cell fracture. My settings, oh, my settings got lost. It seemed like it kept them before, but I guess they get lost. So go ahead and throw those settings back in there if you were following along that closely. And 0.5 and 25. That should be it. Basically, those are the settings you need, and we can go OK. So now it works in real time if you have that box showed there, and fractures your bricks. So this is kind of fun to watch, and it doesn't take too long. It's pretty entertaining, actually, to see it all divided up, and then it kind of comes back and splits it up into the little bricks that it was in. And the cell fracture add-on works really well for simple geometry. If you get something complicated, I've had issues with it and it doesn't work too well. But something like this, nice and simple, it works really well. But you can see it kind of destroyed the UV map on the texture. So it puts your fractured model on layer 2 here. And if I click on that now, you can see we have the fracture. But we don't really have all the texture that I wanted. So that is a problem. It doesn't look like it really followed my drawing here either. So let me check that. Did I have that checked when I clicked OK? You gotta make sure. I'm kind of worried that I didn't. Anyways, I'll try it one more time, and I'll put a little bit more detail in the inside here, just so it really focuses the shadowing right there. Okay, something like that is good. So I'll go ahead, cell fracture. I did have grease pencil checked, so that's good. But have that selected, and everything looks good. Maybe I'll give it the source limit a little bit higher, just so it's a little bit more smaller pieces in there, a little more detail. I might even go 1,000. I have done that before, and it works pretty well. Everything else looks pretty good, I think. Maybe not 100% noise. That might be messing me up a little bit. Just go a little under 100%. All right. And we can go random here in the recursion. Well, nah, let's do small. Okay, we should be good to go. So go OK one more time. And it might take just a little bit longer this time because I'm using 1,000 instead of 600. But you can see we're getting smaller pieces in here now. And that's more like what I wanted. So I'll let this go and jump back when it's finished. And it will be finished on layer 2 here, where we can see it, and it looks nice. We got lots of little pieces here and stuff, and that should work perfectly. But you can see our UV texture is messed up. So we need to fix that, and we're going to use the UV project modifier to do that. So let me quick turn off the drawing here. You can just hit N, and in your tabs here, you have the grease pencil. You can just uncheck that, and it will turn it off if you're done with it. So yeah, it messes up the UV unwrapping. And basically, it would be super hard to come back and texture this now that it's a whole bunch of individual objects, because it would be crazy to try and do that. So what I'm going to show you to do is how to use the UV projection modifier, and it works in object mode. So you can do all these objects at once. Really awesome. So let me quick show you the basics. It's going to be the UV project modifier right here. Go ahead and add it in. Choose the image as our bricks. Choose the UV map as our UV map here. And I'm just going to select a brick off in the corner here that didn't really get fractured too much. So I have something good to work with. Let me see. Find a brick off in the corner somewhere. This one will work good. So I'll go Control I and hide everything else just for now, so I don't have it in my face. Actually, this one won't work necessarily the best because I kind of want to see all 3 corners of it. So maybe I'll just grab this one here. I guess I won't see the bottom of it though. It seems like all my bricks are nice and shattered, but too shattered. Nah, it'll work fine. I'll just grab this one here, Control I, and hide everything else. So this should have enough faces on it that I can work with it enough to get the job done. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to front view here, and I'm going to go Shift S, cursor to center, and add in a projector basically. It's just going to be a plane, but it's a fancy word for a plane. And I'll name this object real quick. It's called plane, but I'll name it proj for projector. Cool. And I'm going to go to my brick now and add that UV project modifier to it. Do the same thing I did before with image, UV map, override image, check that, and then give this the projector right there. And you can see we get that weird skewed look on it. That's fine. Our plane is still right here. It's just kind of invisible when I'm in that view. There we go. And basically, I want 6 projectors. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the reason for that is because I need to project the texture on all 6 sides. Top, bottom, left, right, and then front and back. Okay? So you can see our texture is being nicely placed on top there because of the way this is facing. So if I rotate it 90 along the Y, you'll see it's facing that way. If I rotate 90 along the X, you'll see it's facing that ways. So I'm going to start with the X. Leave this as it is. Scale her up. And basically scale her to the size that fits the brick. So right around there is what fits the brick pretty well. So I'm going to go right around there. Something like that. Now I just need to kind of move this brick or this texture till it fits. So grab a brick and fit her right in there. Perfect. That should work pretty well. I think that's right on there pretty decently. Yeah, it should be. Let's kind of pull this behind it more. Whoops. Behind it more. So it's out of the way there. I think that brick has kind of a weird look to it. Let me just grab a different one here. Just move it along. We'll grab that one. Any of these work. I'm just being kind of picky. We'll grab that one. And we'll go with that. Now, do I need to scale it along the X at all? I might need to scale it along the X here. Just to kind of mesh it up a little bit. If it doesn't fit, we can always do that later. Alright, so now what we want to do to get the next side up is basically take our projector here. Okay, I'm going to go Shift D, and we're going to do that 5 times. Boom. So now we have 5 projectors, and I'm going to grab that brick, and I'm just going to give them the project 1, project 2, project 3, and you guessed it, 4 and 5. And all I have to do is rotate these projectors to all 4 corners until they all match up perfectly. So this one I'm going to go ahead and rotate 90 along the X right back so I can do it. This will be texturing the bottom now. And you can see our brick is down there. Now I just need to kind of grab it along the X until it's lined up, which is right on there. It's kind of hard to see in the shattered one, but it should be right around there. Now let me grab another projector here. You just want to make sure you don't grab your main projector, but it doesn't really matter if it's any of the other ones. So I'm going to Shift D, rotate it minus 90. Whoops, they're both selected there. I lost my layer there. Sorry. Rotate minus 90 along the X. Okay, I didn't see that make a difference. Command Z that. I think I should be able to rotate it. Minus. Huh. Is this projector set up? Let me choose that real quick. Okay, I think I have one too many projectors here. So delete 1. You only need 5. And I'll rotate this 90 along the. Rotate minus 90 along the X, and this will be the top texture there. And we just need to move that along a little bit until it fits. Just keep it in line with everything else, because then we can scale them at the same time if we need to. So that's a smart way to do it. And then we have top, bottom, side. We don't have the back yet. So what I need to do for the back is basically grab this one and rotate it 180. And now we should have the back as well. Yes, we do. Just need to grab it to line it up a little bit there. Perfect. And one more for left and right. So we'll go ahead and grab this one. If you wanted to stay, if it was getting kind of messy, you couldn't tell what you had selected. I'm looking down here for what I have selected. But if it was messing you up, you could be hiding the projectors that are already finished. But this one's just going to be rotated 90 along the Z. And you can see it's working right there. And then projector 3, I might have that one set up already. See, it's kind of messing me up too. But let's just see, rotate minus 90 along the Z. Whoops, not along the Z. Let me just grab this one and top view, rotate 180. No, not that one. Okay, I'm going to start hiding the ones that are done because, like I said, they get kind of overlapped and mess you up. So is this one doing anything yet? Let me check the back there. Is it? Yep, that's the back one. So go ahead and just hide that. You could be naming these if you were that organized. Unfortunately, I'm too lazy. So we got this one set up with projector 1. Let me see if that one's the one doing that. Rotate along the thread. No, it doesn't look like it. So this is the one we want for this side. And I just need to rotate it 180. Okay, along the Y, is it? Or X or Z? I need to quick figure out how this one's rotated. This one's the front one. I'm sorry. And this one is the one I need for this side over here. So let's hide that one. That's the front one. And this is our last one. Perfect. It looks like we just need to go front view. Rotate it. Let me see here. Is this face here? I need to rotate it. Let me see here. Is it this way? Nope. Is it this way? I'm just kind of using R to rotate around to find where I need to go. And it looks like that's right. So I'm going to go minus 90 along the Z. Rotate minus 90 along the Z. Perfect. And just grab it, place it in there. So it's lined up nicely. Alright, so our brick should be textured pretty well. And we can test that by Option H on hiding everything. Let's grab that one brick that's textured there. And then I'm going to select everything else. Boom. With box select. Go ahead and select everything else. Select that brick again. So it's the last one selected. Whoops. That one right there. Let's unselect our projectors there. So I'm just going to box select and then hold middle mouse button to deselect those. Perfect. And all I'm going to do is go Control L, make links, modifiers. And now that texture should show up across our bricks like so. Now you can see that they need to be tweaked a little bit. So I'm just going to grab my projectors now and kind of tweak them to line up how I want. So just line it up like we did before. I'm kind of surprised that I need to do this step because before I didn't. It seemed to work if I did it in the other step. But, you know, if it happens to you, it happens to you and you got to work it. You got to make it work. Otherwise, if you don't need to do this step, don't bother with this step. So I'm going to scale on the Y there because it needs to come down on the Y a bit. Grab along the Y. Grab along the Y. Grab along the X. Oops, I need to grab along the Z, I'm sorry. Here we go. Scale on the Y. No, I'm sorry, I'm saying Y. I'm scaling along the Z. Who am I kidding? I'm not even fooling myself. I'm going to grab along the Z. I'm just used to the 2D dimension. Alright, it's working pretty good, except it's tiling improperly on top here. So I need to move everything up along the Z. So we're not tiling up there. There we go. Oh, one more time. Perfect. So everything is falling into place pretty good now. Just grab along the X. And there we go. That's pretty lined up, it looks like. Yes, that's perfect. So that is the UV project modifier. We check every side. And you can always come back and tweak. Like you can see here, we get those edges that maybe we don't want. So we can just grab both these planes and kind of slide them along to get those edges to the sides. Like that. So they match up better. So really cool and really easy. And it looks like we might want to grab just that one. Whoops, just the other one. And line that up for that side as well. So that is the UV project modifier. Maybe we want to do the top and bottom here as well, because that looks to be off just a tad. So slide that till it lines up. The scaling should all be good though, because we already did that. And then check the top. Alright, we'll check the top here. Nope, that's the wrong one. Grab the other one. And voila. So that is how you texture a whole bunch of objects at once with the UV project modifier. Let's just grab all those and hide them. Whoops, I hit a brick there as well. Option H. Let's not do that. Let's just grab these. Boom. And hide them. So yeah, this was actually something I just started getting into for this tutorial basically. And it's a really cool modifier. And it solves a lot of problems. You can see inside we still have our other texture. And yeah, it works great. All we have to do now is apply the modifiers. And to do that, you're just going to select all your bricks. And you're going to go Alt-C. And you're just going to go Mesh from Curve. And this basically converts it, flattens it down so there's no modifiers and it's all applied. And now you can see if I grabbed one of these shards and rotated it, it is all textured. So that's awesome. And super cool. So we can get on with the simulation now. Let's grab our plane that's on layer 1 here, and let's grab our camera as well and move those both to layer 2 because that's where we're working now, because that's where our shard pieces are. Now let's get into the simulations. So first off, let me hit T, and you can see I have physics right here. This is my like quick physics tab for doing different setting changes on the fly. Let me make it a little bit bigger there. And I can make this a little smaller here. I don't need it for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all my bricks. And I'm going to go add active. Except I can't do that for whatever reason. Okay. There, just unselect and then reselect. And it's working. Okay. So let me deselect those things and go add active. Now these are all active particles, and this will probably be slow. Let me just go to solid view now. But if I hit play, they'll all crumble and fall. So what I'm going to quick do before I do that is grab the ground and go add passive. Okay? So now if I hit play, they'll all crumble and fall. And that right there is pretty awesome on its own. You don't even need to smash it. That's pretty cool. But we're going to do more. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a monkey head through this. Why not? Throw anything through it. You can smash it with whatever you want at this point. But yeah, I'll use a monkey head because it's cool to throw a monkey head through a brick wall, isn't it? So go ahead and go Shift A, monkey, and we'll just scale it up to be about an appropriate size, something like that, to go through the wall. Give it some rotation, whatever. And let's throw a few keyframes in. So I'm going to throw a keyframe right there, and then I'll jump to, like, I grab it, let go. And if you have the automatic keyframing turned on like I just did there, I'm sorry I missed that, telling you that. So make sure it's on, and then move it a little bit, and you'll put a keyframe in. Then jump to frame like 60, and I'm just going to grab it through the wall over here, give it some rotation, something like so. Boom. Maybe just throw down it so it looks like it's sitting on the plane there. We're not going to get fancy with any sort of bouncing and stuff, because that could be animated if you wanted, but you don't really gotta go through the work of doing that right here. So I'm just going to kind of make it look like he's sitting on that brick. So you play it through, and you can see he goes from point A to point B. So what I'm going to quick do now is I basically want to offset this animation so it's hitting the wall at frame 1, because I'm unaware of a way to take these bricks and have them inactive until it's like touched to it by an object. It's just always going to fall down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it collide at frame 1, and then I can bake it to keyframes and have that start whenever I want. So to do that, I'm going to quick switch to Graph Editor, and you can see our animation is all curvy like this because Blender puts a curve on your animation to smooth it out. I don't want that, so I'm just going to hit V and go Vector, so it's all sharp. No slowing down or stopping. And now I'm going to switch to the dope sheet right there, and you can see my 2 keyframes here. And with my cursor at frame 1, I'm just going to grab both those keyframes and drag it along until the monkey head hits it right there. Boom. So that's how I want it to be at frame 1. Perfect. And I can turn off automatic keyframing now, because that just might make me mess up. And now all I have to do is give the monkey an active, and then let's open our physics tab here as well, and let's make sure he's animated. So now if I play it, boom, the monkey is colliding with our bricks, and it's pretty cool. but it can be better. I don't want the whole wall to fall down. I want just parts of it to fall down. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to make some of them passive and some of them active. To calculate what I want to be passive and what I want to be active, I'm going to hit Z and then hit C on my keyboard. And I'm going to select all the bricks that it looks like would be affected by the monkey hair hitting the bricks. So I'm just selecting bricks along the outside edge. It's a little bit bigger than the monkey. Something like that. And I'm going to now go Control I. So those are not selected. Whoops. I need to select the ones in the middle there too. I wasn't thinking. Go ahead and select all the ones in the middle there as well. Now I'm going to go Control I. So it selects all the ones on the outside. These are still there. Let's unselect those. Perfect. And I'm going to go add passive. Okay, it's saying that because I have the camera there selected. Doesn't really matter. Add passive. Cool. So now, if I go hit Z again to go to solid view, when I play the animation, half of them will fall, the ones that the monkey head is colliding with, and the rest won't be touched. Alright, so it's looking better, and a few more things can still be done to make this even better. So let me scale that plane up a little bit there, and let's select all of our objects here. Unselect the camera, but all the other objects, and I want to calculate the mass. I can give it a mass value for the rigid body on what I think the weight of them should be for the physics. And there's all kinds of presets here, and I'm just going to choose, well, brick, a common brick right there. And now if you select these objects depending on the size, over here in our physics tab, the active ones will have different values depending on the size of the shard. So that's really cool, and it'll give the smaller ones a lighter weight and the bigger ones a bigger weight. So now the simulation will look even more accurate when I play it and different bricks get smashed. So that's sweet, and it's looking pretty good. Now my animation is a little slow. If you wanted to speed it up a little bit, let me go ahead and turn my end frame here to 50. But if I want to make it a little faster, I could just scale these keyframes up a little bit so he gets to point A. Or I'm sorry, not scale them up, scale them down a little bit. So we get from point A to point B a bit faster. Now we will have to change our start frame because it'll probably be messed up if we scale them down. But it looks like it's actually still pretty accurate. He's right about touching it at frame 1. Something like that. Go ahead and grab it. Move him just a little bit here. Whoops, get your cursor over there. There you go. Right about there. So now it's going to be a bit faster. So let me go play. Boom. And that's pretty decent. Maybe even too fast. I could put my cursor at frame 1 there and just scale it up a little bit more. There we go. Scale it up just a little more. Perfect. That should work right on. Alright, so now we see how this is working. It looks like, yeah, it looks like it's working pretty well. Awesome. So, when I go rendered now, you'll see that those shards are rendered with the texture on them. Alright, so that's working pretty good. And let me just quick light this scene with a sun lamp. So I'm going to go Shift A, add lamp, sun. Double tap R to kind of rotate it freely. And I'm just going to kind of point it at the monkey. Some basic lighting. And then I'll go to the sun settings here and just give it a little bit more value. Give it a 3. So it's a little brighter. So go rendered. And alright, we're seeing it a little better here now. And okay, let's just make this a little bit better by adding a texture to the inside of these bricks. So I'm just going to quick open up a texture and texture our inside. Alright, so I'm just going to use a bare concrete texture for the inside of these bricks. And let me quick switch to my node editor here to drop that material in. Just go Shift A, add texture, image texture, open, and again I'll include this texture in the description. Drop it in there though. And one last thing, I need to go input texture coordinate, and I'm going to choose generated because I want these textures to be generated on their own. So the UV unwrapping will just go ahead and work on all of them semi-decent. You can see the textures being applied on them. It's a little bit big. So what I did to scale it down a little bit was just drop a simple mapping node in there. So just go converter vector mapping, drop it in there, and then turn the scale down to like a 0.3, and this will basically scale up the texture on these bricks. So I want to go render now. We can see the texture showing up there a little bit clearer. Cool. Now one other thing, the texture was a little bright. I think I dropped a hue saturation value in there. I just took the value down a little bit and the saturation down a little bit. Maybe change the hue a little bit. These are all optional steps that you guys can do to take your scene further. But that actually seems okay. I'm sorry. I dropped that in the wrong spot. We want to drop it in here. Boom. That was messing up the vector. So go render now, and you can see that working better. Maybe it's even too dark. I don't know. So that is the texturing for that. And now the last things I want to show you are a few ways to improve this just a little bit more. And that is by adding some shards. And this is done with a particle system. Really simple. I'm just going to jump to a different layer here. Go to the center here. I'm just going to go Shift S, cursor to center, and then hit period on my keyboard. Nope. I'm just going to move it to the center there. Go Shift A, add in a cube. I'm going to scale this cube way down. I'm going to zoom in here on that cube, tab into edit mode, and just make it look like a shard. So just go ahead and scale these vertices down. Whoops. Now I can hit period to kind of pull it to that model there on my number pad. Let's just make this look like a shard by tweaking it and kind of going crazy. Don't worry about messing up too bad, because this is a shard, a piece of brick that broke off and flew on its own. So it can be kind of a crazy little shard. Bam, there's a crazy little shard. And you can make a few variations of this just to make it look non-repetitive. I'm just making it real crazy here. Little shard. Boom, there's another one. And so forth. I think I did 3 for my scene. You can try a face select to kind of make your shard look different too if you wanted. Just gives you some different looking results. Alright, that's a crazy shard. Maybe too crazy. Think we went too far with this? Could be. But that's fine. Something like that. And we have 3 shards here. Now I want to give these shards the inside material. And I just want to do it to all of them. So I'm going to go B, select them all. With this one being the last one selected, Control L, share the materials. Now they all have that inside material on them. And now I'm just going to go Control G and name these shards in a group right there in our toolbar. Okay, so if I go to my model here now, what I want to do is I want to grab one of the active faces on the center part here and give it a particle system. It's going to be an emitter. It's going to start at frame 1 and it should end by frame 3. Basically, all the particles should be in there by frame 3. And the lifetime can be 50, that's fine. The number of vertices should be more like 100 though, of shards. And I'm just going to scroll down to group. What do we have? Our group settings here right there. And I'm going to go shards. Now to get this particle system worked out without everything else slowing it down, I'm just going to go Control I and hide them. Okay, so we just have that brick, and this is going to be the one to emit our particles. So I want to shoot them out on the y-axis here. That's the negative y to go that direction. So in the emitter object here, I'm going to take my y, and I'm going to shoot it out -5 along the y. So when I hit play here, you can see, boom, I get those particles flying out with the brick there. So that's pretty cool. And if I give these particles a collision, like the monkey head, they'll be colliding with the monkey head because I'm going to drop a collision physics onto it. So we can go ahead and do that now, except I want to quick tweak a few more particle settings here. Give it 100% random size and a little bit bigger of a size, and let's see what that looks like when we play it. Boom. That looks pretty sweet. Maybe just a little bigger yet. They're a little small. Play it again. And that looks pretty decent. Some extra detail there. Now I can give it a few things like some random emitter, so it's not random, it's more random. And some Brownian motion, that gives us some nice random motion as well, but not too much of that. And that should do it. A little bit more randomness is always good. And rotation, that's the last thing you want to do. We want velocity hair, give it some random velocity, make them dynamic, and give it some randomness in the phase as well. So now we should see them kind of rotating. Boom. And they look like they're pretty good and random. So let's bring back our other objects by going Alt-H to unhide them. Except we still want these projectors hidden. I'm just going to grab those, not the ground, and hide them. So what I'm going to do now is grab the ground, make it a collision object, and I want to give it some friction. This is something you can actually do with your bricks too. If they're sliding around into ground too much, you can give them some friction, particle friction. I'm going to give it about 0.8. And I'll give it a bit of stickiness too, 0.2, and maybe just a little dampening as well, 0.2. So this will make them so they don't bounce and go crazy, but they kind of fall on the ground and stop after a short time. All right, so I want to give this the same collision physics here, and I can give them a little bit of friction as well from that. And now, like I said, what you can do is on your objects here, you can grab one of them. I believe this will work. Let me see. Yes. I think I can go grab one of them here. And let me just actually go see and grab them all on the inside there that I want broken. Cool. Except for that monkey head. That bad monkey. And I'm going to give the source one, I'm just going to grab one of them there, some friction. You can see you have it right here. And I'm going to give it like a 0.8. And now I can go copy from active, and it will stick them all. So all of these now have a friction of 0.8. Perfect. So now when those hit the ground, they'll be a little bit more stuck and not sliding around so much. So let me hit play here, and we'll see. They're kind of grabbing the ground more and not sliding. Some of them still slide, but that's fine. It's random. And they can see it looks a little better. Awesome. And if you look carefully, you should see those particles in there as well now. Let me jump to frame 1. Whoops, I hit the wrong play button. Try that again. Yeah, you see those little tiny particles in there adding some realism. So what I'm going to do is add a bunch more particles. And to do that, I'm going to have to quick find that particle setting. I should have watched out for that. Go to particle settings and try and find the shard that you put those on. I wasn't really thinking that would be an issue, but that was kind of dumb. There we go. It was right there. Right there. Got my particle settings there. You might want to be careful about which one you put it on. Maybe start on putting it on the bottom one or something so you can find it just in case that's an issue for you. But anyways, I'm going to give it a little bit more emission. Right there. I'll give it a -8, I think. And a little bit more random as well. Well, I guess it's enough random. And what I want to do is name the particle settings to be shard or anything else you want. And now I can just go ahead and grab some other of these faces and go new particle system. And the settings are going to be the shard. And you can just go ahead and do that to give as many particles as you want. Adding another 100 particles every time you do this. Grab settings, shard. Let's do that over here. New settings are going to be the shard. Really easy. And this adds a lot of little extra detail if you're the kind of person that needs more detail. So we'll just do that shard. And I'm getting kind of sick of doing this, so I'll make that the last one. But now when I play it, we should see quite a few more little particles in there. Awesome. And now because they're all linked, if you change the value here, it'll change the value for all of them, which I think I might do, because I think I have a little bit too much emitter value there. But that should be good now. I'll just go back to 0.5. And I think I might make the shards just a little bit bigger, because they're still just a little bit small, I thought. Boom, that's better. Cool. You can see the particles bouncing on the ground, but not bouncing too crazy, just acting kind of realistic like I want. So that is the particles and the textures, how to texture your bricks. Now the last thing is going to be a render, and I'm just going to quick show you how to add some depth of field and motion blur to make it pop. So I'm going to grab my camera here, and let's just have a little fun with this. Let's hit F, or what is it, space? How do you go to fly mode? Let me start typing out fly. Quick fly. No, quick fluid. That's quick fluid. I think it's Shift F actually. Boom, and that's fly mode. So now I'm gonna use my WASD keys to find out what looks like the best angle here. This is pretty cool. Maybe I'll follow it through the wall though. That would be kind of sweet. So I'm gonna go right around here and click. And that didn't bring my camera with me. Wait a minute. Maybe you have to hit return or something to snap your camera there. Or maybe not. Okay, so that fly mode made me look kind of stupid. Anyways, it's meant for grabbing your angle and just kind of exploring your model. So it's kind of fun to use. You just go Shift F. You look around with WASD. Shift speeds you up, just like a first-person shooter or something like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of find the spot there. Then you just hit left mouse button. And then you go Alt Control 0 and it snaps the camera to that angle. Perfect. So I got my camera here. And what I'm going to do is, let me jump to frame 1 here, and I'm not going to keyframe the camera. Let me go ahead and delete that keyframe that somehow got on the camera there. Alright, I guess maybe there wasn't one. Anyways, I'm not going to delete the, I'm not going to keyframe the camera, I'm sorry. I'm going to parent it to this. Actually, not parent, but let me just go to my camera and go to constraints and add object constraint, copy location. We want to copy Suzanne's location. So go Suzanne, boom, and it's copying her location, and then choose offset. So it's not right on top of her. Now we might have to reposition a little bit after that, but there we go. Now let me quickly change a few other camera settings. Let's give it a little depth of field. Let's focus it on Suzanne. So stick the focus object to Suzanne. Choose f-stop. We'll go 2, and that should be pretty decent. So now if I play through here, you can see it's following the location of Suzanne as she busts through that building and lands on the ground. So cool. And let me just make the focal length a little wider here. Go 55. Oh, I'm sorry, 25. Boom, through the wall. And to make Suzanne look just a little better and the camera to be less boring, I'm gonna give her a little bit of slide once she hits the ground. So we'll just do that and rotate her along the Z. Just a little bit too, just to make it a little less boring looking. And position my camera just a little bit better there. Something like that is kind of cool. And let's play it through. Boom. She's sliding a little slow, but it's pretty sweet. You get the idea. You can mess around with the angle all day long if you want, but that's gonna be good. And then for the motion blur, what you want to do is go motion blur right there. Just check it, and the basic settings are actually pretty decent for this scene, so that will work out good. And let's just give ourselves a few renders here to see how she's looking. Save your project real quick and go F12. This should render quite fast, and there you go. We have our Suzanne head focused and everything else blurred, and we have those projectors showing up. So fix that real quick. We don't want those projectors showing up. Just grab them and move them to a different layer now. Actually, you could even delete them, but I like to keep them around in case I need to go back to that ever. But now we can do another render here as she's smashing through the wall. Whoops, I just messed up my simulation there. There we go. The simulation ends there. I just need to play it through to get it all baked. You can see that line is baking your simulation there. So get it all baked in the timeline, and then I can kind of scrub around here and find a frame to render. Right around there looks pretty good. Let's move our camera. Turn off the automatic keyframe and move our camera. There we go. And go F12. Give it a second, and we can see what our basic render is looking like. Not too shabby. Our bricks are all textured properly. The focus is on Suzanne. Everything else is blurred, and it doesn't look too bad. Now, if you wanted to play this in real time, because you can see this is kind of playing at 15 frames a second for me, you could do an OpenGL render. And this will just stick it in this temp folder. If you don't give it a different spot, which I'll just drop it right in my tutorial folder here, whatever works, and give it a QuickTime. And now I'm just going to click that little render right there. It'll render out in OpenGL, so you can see how it looks in real time. This goes very fast, so I'll just let it go. You can see that little thing that your cursor becomes. That's the frame it's on, and it's just 50 frames to go. So once that finishes, which it will right now, I can go render, play rendered animation, and you can see a rendered animation playing. And the physics and everything look pretty good. I like the little particles. Everything looks pretty awesome. If you render this out with cycles now and motion blur and everything else, it wouldn't look bad at all. So that's gonna do it, guys. That is our monkey smash through a brick wall tutorial. Hope you guys had fun, learned some things, learned some tricks, and go ahead and destroy some brick walls because it's a lot of fun. Breaking things is fun. So have fun, guys, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.